Lalu stood naked on a box, auctioned as a slave to the highest bidder. Beginning in the 1850s and continuing on throughout the 19th century, many Chinese women were forced into prostitution in the American West. Instead of facing their harsh realities, many committed suicide. But Lalu was a survivor. Her life in America's western frontier would take her to the remote regions of Idaho, where she became known as Polly. There, she gained her freedom, ran a boarding house, married a good-natured saloon owner, Charlie Bemis, and would lead a happy and generous life, spreading goodwill and affection to her fellow pioneers in need. She redefined what it meant to be a Chinese American. Although it seemed as if her fate had been sealed, she was imaginative in exploring fresh ideas and possibilities. By doing so, she was able to exchange the hardship she encountered for hospitality.
Lalu Nathoy was brought to America from China as a slave. She was auctioned off in San Francisco, taken up to the mining camps of Idaho. So she was really a survivor and became one of Idaho's most outstanding pioneers.
Lalu Nathoy was born on September 11, 1853, in the northern China and Mongolian region. Her parents were impoverished farmers and struggled to provide for their family. When Lalu was 18 years of age, drought struck the region. Her father was forced to sell her to bandits that commonly ravaged through villages looking for vulnerable, impoverished families. At this time, Chinese custom viewed women as the property of men. This meant that they could be bought and sold like any other commodity. Lalu was exchanged for 2 bags of seeds. The bandit leader most likely brought Lalu to San Francisco, where many Chinese women were sold. There, he hoped to make his fortune in what remained of the American West's fading gold rush. Many Chinese traveled to America seeking a new life. Lalu was eventually sold again to an old Chinese man named Hong King. "I cost $2,500, she would later say. Most Chinese women auctioned into slavery ended up becoming prostitutes. Hong King took Lalu to Warrens, Idaho on a pack train to work in his saloon.
People came from all over the world to see if they could get the gold for themselves. And as the strikes kept moving north, people kept moving north with them. In Warren's district, gold was discovered in 1861, but it wasn't until 7 years later that the Chinese were allowed in, and that's because the white miners felt that all the gold was gone. And that was fairly typical of what happened everywhere in the West.
Lalu would be the only Chinese woman in Warrens.
So she was a curiosity. She was just somebody that would have drawn men from miles around just to see her. That's why her owner bought her, because he felt that he could increase his business with her. On the other hand, she didn't escape the kind of racism that was so pervasive against Chinese. They accepted the fact that she had an owner, that she was enslaved. They would never have accepted that for a white woman.
When Lalu arrived in Warrens, a stranger helped her off her horse and said, "Here's Polly." From there on after, Lalu was known as Polly. While in Warrens, she met Charlie Bemis. Charlie Bemis would become an important man in Polly's life. There are many legends about their unusual relationship, including one that Charlie won Polly's freedom from Hong King in a poker game. Polly later denied that she was a poker bride. What we do know about Charlie is that he was a charismatic saloon owner in Warrens and took an instant liking to Polly. He served as deputy sheriff in Warrens, and his fearless personality kept order in the small mining camp. he often protected Polly from the miners and the harsh realities of saloon life. How Polly won her freedom is still unknown, but by the 1880s, Charlie and Polly were living together. Polly was very grateful for her freedom and remained financially independent. She ran a boarding house and took in local miners' laundry to earn a living. She was known for taking care of others and built a reputation for offering hospitality to those in need.
Polly was a survivor, but she also was very thoughtful always of other people. Her character to me is the most remarkable. Some people survive hardship but become hardened by that hardship. She did not. She really survived with her generosity of spirit intact.
With drunken brawls and gambling rampant in the camp, miners often asked Charlie to keep their money safe. One miner, John Cox, gave Charlie $250 to safeguard to prevent himself from gambling it away. While intoxicated, Cox demanded that Charlie give him his money back. But Charlie refused. Cox fired his gun, shattering Charlie's cheekbone. When the doctors gave up on him, Polly used her own crochet hook to remove the remains in Charlie's cheek.
She used Chinese herbs to pack onto the wound, and that prevented him from getting infections.
Some believe that Polly's miraculous act of saving Charlie's life is what led him to want to marry her. On August 13, 1894, Polly officially became Charlie's bride. Although their marriage was through love, another factor could have been the Geary Act of 1892. With prejudice rising against the Chinese in America, Congress was looking for ways to expel them. The Geary Act required that all Chinese legally residing in the United States must carry a certificate of residency. Polly, however, entered the country illegally. Discrimination against the Chinese only strengthened her fear of being deported. As Charlie's wife, Polly could then receive her certificate of residency. Soon after they wed, Charlie and Polly moved to the Salmon River, 17 miles away from Warren's. Charlie built a 2-story house for their new ranch. There, Polly grew herbs and vegetables and fed many travelers she encountered. The couple became known for their generosity and hospitality. Polly would nurse back to health those who were injured or ill. Soon, Bemis's ranch became renowned as Polly Place. In the summer of 1922, Polly Place burned down. The elderly Bemises moved to Shep Ranch across the river. That October, Charlie passed away. Polly was devastated. However, that did not stop her from continuing her hospitality to those who needed it. Although Charlie and Polly did not have any children, Polly would allow children who lived far from Warren's to board with her as they attended school. She was a parental figure to at least one child, Gay Carey, who was quoted saying, "Polly took good care of me. I loved her." In August of 1933, Polly's neighbors found her unconscious in her garden. She was rushed to the Grangeville nursing home. At 80 years of age, Polly was steadily losing her strength. Visitors who had been welcomed at Polly Place came to comfort her. On November 6, 1933, Polly died peacefully. Polly was an explorer of new ideas and possibilities for Chinese American women. She dared to explore a better path for her life and defied the odds that were set against her. She encountered significant challenges in her ever-changing circumstances, yet she gave freely to those she encountered on the Idaho frontier. Polly's legacy is that she exchanged the old Chinese custom, where women were mere commodities that could be bought and sold, for the new American pioneer ideal, where women could live free, earn a living, and lovingly choose to help those in need.